So we've already talked about theoretical yield. And remember again that theoretical yield is the amount that will be produced of a product under ideal conditions. But we're not always going to have ideal conditions. So what we need to look at is how do the ideal conditions compared to how much we get in reality. So what we're going to look at here is called percent yield or percentage yield. And lucky for us, this has a very clear formula that we're going to use. So percentage yield or percent yield is equal to the mass of the actual yield divided by the mass of the theoretical yield times 100. So I'm going to need two numbers. I'm going to need the actual yield and I'm going to need the theoretical yield. So the actual yield is going to be a measurement that's found in the laboratory. So if I pull in my problem here, okay. So our problem says that when starting with 5.0 grams of baking soda, the theoretical yield of sodium acetate is 4.9 grams. And that's what we calculated in the last video. A student conducted the experiment and found the actual mass of sodium acetate to be 4.35 grams. What is the percent yield of sodium acetate? So this student did the experiment, and even though she was supposed to theoretically get 4.9 grams, she only got 4.35 grams. Okay? So notice there are three numbers that were given in this problem, okay, in the question, and we really only have to deal with two of them. So we need to identify what is our actual yield and what is our theoretical yield. So it tells us pretty clearly here that the theoretical yield is, the theoretical yield of sodium acetate is 4.9 grams. Okay? That's my theoretical yield. Now what I'm going to use for the actual yield is whatever was determined in an experiment. So since we're talking about the experiment down here, okay, this is going to be my theoretical, and this one is going to be my actual. Notice they're both in grams and they're both of the same substance. So my percent yield is going to be equal to the mass of actual yield. So my actual again is here, 4.35 grams. Okay. And I'm going to put that over what my theoretical was, 4.9 grams. And then because it's a percent, I want to multiply my answer by 100. So if I put that in my calculator, clear my calculator from the last video here, and I have 4.35 divided by 4.9 times 100. 1,000. Okay, 100. There we go. So when you do that, you should get about 80, my calculator right here, 88.7%. Now I want to have two significant figures. Since 4.9 is only two significant figures, I'm going to round my percent here to 89%. Okay. And so that's my percent yield. That's how much, right? I got 89% of what I expected to get. And that's actually a very good percent yield. In some reactions, we're actually able to achieve much lower than what we would like to see or what we expect to see based on the environmental conditions. So here our percent yield, simple equation, mass of actual over mass of theoretical times 100. If you're not given the theoretical in the problem, then you might have to solve for it, just like we did in the previous video. So you can go back to the first video on theoretical yield if you need a reminder. Okay? Now go ahead and try some practice problems like this on your worksheet.